Okie dokie. We are live on YouTube and TikTok. And we are going to be talking about IBLP Cult and the Duggars and, you know, all that good stuff. And I'm trying to get my cameras as close to each other as I possibly can so it doesn't look like I'm looking in two different directions all the time. There we go. Close enough, maybe. So, yeah. Wow, it's been a week. I am exhausted. I don't know if I've ever had this exhausting of a week with the news and trying to keep up with letting y'all know what's going on uh, with the Duggars. And there's been new developments today since I looked at things a little while ago. Just been editing a video I'm hoping to get out this week. And there was new developments. So, have y'all seen that there's a GoFundMe for the Caldwells? And what do y'all think about that? What are your thoughts on that? Welcome in, everyone. Who is stressed out? Am I the only one who is stressed out? And on YouTube, I'm trying this new mic. So, let me know how it sounds. So, I was thinking, I asked who was stressed out. I was just talking to everybody about, yes, there is a GoFundMe for the Caldwells. Let's just go ahead and jump into the shenanigans and tomfoolery. Let's see, we're going to do a window. I'm going to share that. And let me find, I had pulled up a couple of different things for us to look at. And here is the Caldwell GoFundMe. Imagine that. So let's just get something straight here. Papa Caldwell is an IFB pastor. IFB is another cult. It is Independent Fundamentalist Baptist Churches. And I was part of that cult as well. And so Kendra was raised in a cult. It may not have been IBLP. I don't know about I don't know, like, okay, if you're new here, we do not speculate on anything that is not public knowledge. The victim's name is not public knowledge. We will not speak about who it could be, who it might be, and we're not speculating about that at all. Um and so that's about as far as I'm going to say that, okay? If it comes out that there is a direct connection here, if you're getting my drift, I will change my tune. But I'm going to pretend like this information is not confirmed. Therefore, we can't assign victimhood to anyone that we don't know. I don't like that they've become GoFundMe society in general, but in that we've become. But in this instance, it seems grifty. Yes. Um, basic youth conflict seminar in your teens. It took me a couple of years after that to figure out it was a cult. Yeah, I was 18 when I first joined mine. Like I first went to the basic seminar. It was basic seminar in my day. And let me change this a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Um and it was 2015ish when I was like something's not right here. And around that time, 1516 is when Scientology documentary from Leah Remini came out, and that is when I realized it was a cult. So, back to the Caldwells. Papa Caldwell, Paul, is an IFB pastor. From what I understand, he has been living in a house that was built by or owned by Kendra and Joe. Um, there was a falling out of some sorts. People are speculating what it's about. I'm not. It's not public knowledge. I'm not going to try and assign anything unknown to that conflict. Um, Paul Caldwell is 2 years older than me. He is an able bodied white male, and he is a pastor. Most pastors I know have a job to provide for their family on top of being a pastor because it's really hard to make a living as an IFB pastor. So anyway, let's read. Paul's church has long been saying it has a future location they're moving to. Church bought that site in 2020. It has 2 houses on it. Why can't they live there? Good question. I don't know. Like, I don't know any about this church. I don't know anything about Paul Caldwell and his little IFB-ness. Let's just read what he says in this very vague, very, very vague GoFundMe. My family is facing a difficult and urgent situation. We are in need of support to cover legal fees and secure safe housing. So let's just stop there for a second, because legal fees, obviously they may be fighting or suing Joe and Kendra over this whole housing situation, and safe housing alludes to the fact that where they're at is not safe. That's just me reading into things. This has been an incredibly stressful time, and we're doing everything we can to protect ourselves and move forward. The funds raised will go directly toward legal representation to help us navigate the challenges ahead, as well as finding a safe place to live. Both are essential for our well being and peace of mind. We are grateful for any help, whether it's a donation or simply sharing our story with others who might be able to support us. Thank you all so much for your care, concern, and prayers during this difficult time. We have set up this GoFundMe to help cover the unknown expenses of legal fees and housing. Anything you can do is a help. Even if it's just prayer, support means the world to us as we work to rebuild and find safety. I'm curious what legal situation he might be in that he needs legal fees for. If it's not to do with his housing, is there something going on with his church? And let's see. There we go. Let me share this. I found their church website. That's not what I wanted to do. Okay. So here is their website. And Lighthouse Baptist Church, Pastor Paul Caldwell. The Lord has led me to plant a Lighthouse Baptist Church. The Lord has given my wife, Christina, and me a burden for the souls of Northwest Arkansas. Our location is in Greater East Fayetteville, Arkansas area. With the Lord's help, we began services in the spring of 2008. So they have been in that area since 2008. 8 years? No, 18 years? How are they not established and established enough to afford a house? And so someone had mentioned the phone call with Kendra and Joe, and how Kendra was kind of laughing about her parents being essentially kicked out. Um, I'm having a hard time keeping up with both comment threads and going back and forth on the sharing the screen. So if you are on the T play button and you made a comment, comment again because I missed everything. So, um, and so how are you not established enough? How do you not have a job to be able to support your family? How are you having babies after babies after babies? I don't know how young is their youngest in the Caldwell family. I understand the mom was pregnant at the same time as Kendra when after she got married. So, and obviously Kendra is the firstborn of their family. Um, I don't know how many kids they have. Does anybody know how many kids they have? Like everything I know about these people, I know because of what's going on right now, and I'm learning as I go because I don't follow these people. Um, so yeah, I'm just confused. It seems very grifty. Their youngest is nearly 5, same age as Kendra's 3rd. Paul has 9 kids, Kendra has 4. 4. 4. She has 4, and she's 27. She got married at, like, 18, 19. I'm telling you, that's crazy. Thank you for the information, I appreciate that. It is just wild to me that, I was wondering if there is any indication Joseph's trial might. No, no. Caleb has nothing to do with this. It that Josh's thing and this thing are totally unrelated, and parties who aren't involved with the other trial wouldn't be connected to this. So the only people who would be witnesses in a trial are people who are there, people who have firsthand knowledge of something, or they might have character witnesses. I mean, yeah, they have character witnesses, but that's assuming we go to trial. Um, well, yeah, because she had firsthand. Bobby Holt had firsthand knowledge in Josh's trial of what Josh did, and was a witness for the prosecution to help the case along because of his history. So, so in the United States, the only people who would be called would be like character witnesses for the person to say how much of a good person they are, or character witnesses against how bad of a person they are, that they've had personal dealings with this person. I seem to think that Caleb has nothing to do with the Duggars at this point. He's probably staying as far away from them as possible if he's smart. Um, so whoever the person who was offended, right? The person who was SA'd by Joseph Duggar will likely have to testify if it goes to trial. Um, and so anybody who was a witness during the ac- goings on of what happened around that event would possibly be called as witnesses. In my opinion, I think the reason he pled not guilty at his hearing was number 1 to get bond, and number 2 to be able to try and get a plea deal. He could try to bring it to trial. It is very hard for these things to be proven because there's a lack of physical evidence. And this is why, unfortunately, in the United States, they have lawyers who like to attack children and victims, whether it be male or female, and act like they're lying. So, and unfortunately, it can get very difficult to prove these things in a court of law. But if you're a Christian and you did something and you harmed something, you should own up to it, shouldn't you? You know, my personal opinion. So the Caldwell's GoFundMe, I believe, was posted today. Was it? Um, have a date? Created 5 hours ago. Yep. Let's refresh the page. They are at $12,480 of their $24,000 goal. That is 52% of their goal. In 5 hours. And here's where this is gonna really piss me off, is I know there's speculation about things, and you can take what I'm inferring, you know what I'm talking about, if you've been around the internet the last week. If they are using that to profit, I'm gonna be pissed, because if it's not, if the speculations are not true, and it is an unrelated, if you catch my drift, they are benefiting off the pain of a person because people are speculating. A child at that, and that makes me infuriated. But fundamentalist cult people are really good at grifting, especially pastors. I don't know who Carver Bauer is, BC. So, someone had made a comment on one of my videos this week and was talking about how in one of the phone calls, Kendra was talking about kicking her parents out and she was laughing about it. I pulled up Lily Archives channel, and do y'all want to hear that phone call and talk about it? Because I'm kind of like, I get she did laugh, but the context in which she was laughing, I'm curious if y'all are catching what I'm catching. Let me know in the comments if y'all want to listen to it. And I think I can make polls, but I can't remember how to do all that from StreamYard. It's been too long since I've done anything other than just stream. All right. Sure, let's listen. Okay. Now, if for some reason the volume is not working, please let me know because I'm pretty sure I have it set to where it will share the screen volume, but I don't know. Okay. So I'm going to back it up a few seconds, and my phone is in the way of me moving the screen. Ugh, I need a second monitor. I used to have it. Let me back it up a few seconds. And then, all right. Y'all let me know if y'all can't. Yep, that's not what I wanted to do. So the say that that's weird. I can't hear his part through here. Can y'all hear his part? Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Um, let me try it again. Doo, doo, doo. Let me stop that. Sorry, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't want to do that. I want this to go away. Let me bring it up in a different window. All right, let's see. Oh, okay. It's on two different sides of it. So, the way it is coming out. Oh, that's shoot. Um, sorry guys, I'm not used to doing all this. Let's see. Also share tab audio. Okay. We're gonna go with that. Um, do-do-do-do-do-do. Not that. Not that. Also, oh, there we go. Also share system audio. Okay. So I'm gonna figure this out, guys. I promise. Thank y'all for being patient. Now my computer is doing too much. It's on an ad right now. Hold on. What I'm trying to do. Let's skip the ad. I have it muted right now. No thanks. All right, we got to go to like 32. All right, now I'm going to start playing it. You'll let me know how the sound is once it loads. And
We're going to work on the fire. My family said they're going to be out. We got the phone and that. And this is
that's
no, because this was this information needed. I think if we just put the line, we get everything to his phone and then get it to their phone. So, don't,
so apparently sharing through this method is not allowing us to hear both the left and right speaker. Weird. So let me just remove this. See if I'll just put my microphone up to it. And hopefully the other see, this is why. All right, let's see. Oh, I know what it is. Okay, it's my speaker settings on my actual on on this. Ooh. Audio speaker. Let me see if that works now. Try it again. No. There's a conflict with it. That's it. I have an iPad right here. We're gonna listen to it on the iPad. Stupid technology. All right. Which one was that? I have to find out which one from. Goodness gracious. What a pain in the butt. Calls 8 and 9. All right. So go to this on the iPad. Calls 8 and 9. Okay, there we go. Turn my iPad volume up. Yes, it can. Shush. Disappear for a month and do this instead. Skip that. We don't want ads. Okay. Well, I'm gonna figure this out. Okay. All right. Can y'all hear it now? Can y'all hear it now?
Okay, well, that's great, but okay, so that's a lot to manage.
Are we good?
But, I mean, if we're going to be throwing it up, then, wow. So we might just leave it that way for things to
I'm doing okay.
grab it first. That's my reason. Stick with every we'll see. Yeah. Um, I think it is.
Okay. This is the part.
Anyway,
Good.
every week, so we're going to try to get started on it. This one, and my family's been moving out in a month, and everybody is holding. So the streets say that apparently Joe built a house for their family and ended up letting Kendra's parents and siblings live in that house.
So I guess they are getting rid of the house that they rent or live in or whatever so they can live in that original house and kicking Kendra's parents
Oh, oh yeah, they're like, yeah, they're, yeah. Oh, so they're holding to it. Uh-huh. So we also have to.
Okay. So, did y'all hear it? Number one. And does anybody want to take a guess what my observation is? Or do you have any observations before I say mine? Because I have thoughts. I do have thoughts. Do y'all think that the giggle was because she's happy she's kicking out her parents, as the commenter in my comment section seems to, or like she's getting some kind of thrill out of it? Does that Do you think that was nervous laughter, anxiety laughter, fawning, any of that? Do 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 do. Waiting for comments before I say my opinion. Do 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 do. I swear this whole entire situation is making me go cuckoo bananas. All right, so I've waited enough for guesses. I'm gonna tell you what I think. There is way more to the story than we know. The fact that she said that everybody is going to hold them to it. Kendra's default response is giggle. There's a reason her name is Giggles. Oh, she has a nickname, Giggles. Okay. There is a reason that they have to hold them to it. It sounds like maybe they've tried to work with her parents on a timeline. And I am speculating a whole fuck ton. But that when you have to hold somebody to a timeline and you say everybody's going to hold them to it, that's an indication that you've held somebody to a timeline and they have crossed it. Do y'all agree with me? And that she needs other people to back her up because her father and her mother are not respecting that timeline. So also there's reports that the Caldwells were selling things on Facebook before this came out. So that indicates to me that there was a timeline for them moving out prior to this situation, right? Before your timeline theory matches my suggestion about a default on a land contract above in chat. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, so kicking out her parents, I wonder if the house transfer was a land contract with seller Joe doing the financing, and if buyer Paul wasn't making payments, then he could lose the house. So like a lease to purchase or rent to own kind of situation, maybe, or or they were just renting it and they haven't been able to make the payments for rent. If they're looking for money to be able to find housing, that means that they don't have money currently to pay any rent. So have they been living there without paying rent? And Joe's like, okay, y'all been laying on my leg enough. I can't afford for y'all to keep laying on my leg here. Because it's just like fundy parents to want everything from their kids. Um, just I just don't get a good feeling when it comes to her dad. It wasn't just a rental, there was a deed to Paul, and oh, okay, there was a deed to Paul in the county database. See, this is why it's good to have people in my chat who know things. I'm gonna ask you, where did you find that at? What's your source? Because around here, there's only a select few sources that I will absolutely trust for getting information. Um, and I hadn't heard that from any of my trusted sources. But, Benton County Assessor's website. Thank you. That's a good source. Oh, you pulled it yourself. Thank you. All right. Crizel, is that how you pronounce it? Crisel? I don't know. I'm not good at pronouncing names. Um, Thank you for being a trusted source. That is great. I love when we can get official documents to back up what we say. So, a deed. That's interesting. Hmm. Curious minds. Curious minds. The document was brief. I couldn't tell where financing came from or if it was a seller land contract. Yeah, it sounds like it was owner financed of some sort, right? Like, was it like a deed in lieu? I don't know real estate, legal. I don't know legal. Other than the lawyer things that I've watched on TikTok from like Emily D. Baker and Legal Eagle and stuff like that, which I haven't dove into in quite a long time. So, there's that. There's that popped up today, the GoFundMe. We've had all the phone calls, we've had the emails. I talked about the emails from Jim Bob. Does anybody have any questions concerning Jim Bob's emails? Hey, Kelly. Good to have you here. Accountability is your special interest. Yes, don't we like when people have to take accountability for their actions? Wouldn't that be nice? It is a crazy time to be alive. It has been a crazy week for me. I have been I have a full-time job, and so on breaks, I've been, like, doing videos and then editing them when I'm, on another break, and then after work, and then trying to respond to comments, and then having some crazy comments and some interesting comments, and, um, yeah, and thank you to all the new people who are here. I realized that, Cece Suarez had put a clip of one of my videos. Somebody had commented to let me know that she had done that, and I went and looked at it, and I was like, "Oh, that's so sweet." And she complimented my eyebrows, so, I feel special now. Alright, question. To the extent Jim Bob's email was coded, does it seem like any type of code Joe would understand? He seems, not too bright. So, Kelly, did you happen to see my video on that email? Just curious. Um, Before I answer that, Jim Bob's email, son, you're screwed, but God got your back. And then mob speak for, but we'll take care of your wife and kids. Keep your mouth shut, idiot. I'm pretty sure Joe got that. Joe cannot be that stupid because he's running a real estate business, or like, or his brother's running it and he's just along for the ride. Oh, you can't remember. Okay. So I had mentioned in my video about the Jim Bob emails that Jim Bob had used the examples of David and Joseph for a specific reason. Whether it was intentional or subconsciously, David raped Bathsheba and then unalived her husband. And then God's judgment was upon David for what he did. So there's that example. And then he's like, but David was a man after God's own heart. David screwed up royally, which I thought was hilarious that he used royally for a king, but whatever. And then the example of Joseph being accused falsely of assaulting sexually Potiphar's wife. So both of those examples were in the wheelhouse of what Joseph Duggar is in jail for, or was. He's now out on bond. So interesting. I thought was interesting. It was heavily fundy coded. It was very, the God can forgive you if you asked for it. There was nothing about accountability in there. I mean, I guess there was because he's going to be paying for it for years to come severely. I guess there was some accountability in there. Can't say there wasn't. Um, Probably I fell asleep. Now I remember. Probably why I'm here. It's like, oh, thank you. Insightful analysis. I looked you up from some other show you were on. Nice name. I remembered it. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I guess you might have saw me from CC Suarez's video. Unless there's somebody else out there randomly popping my name in their videos and I don't know about it. Have I seen the emails between Josh and Anna on Lily Archive? I have. And I found it interesting that Anna, God, God damn it, Anna. Number one, she's like, hey, bro, I got you covered because I know how to do this thing. Um, and then, okay. And then, she drops that Kendra's not going to see her kids for a month. I'm like, Anna, Anna, you know not to say shit. You just told him not to say shit, and then you're like talking about their shit. Like you just exposed that to the whole world, stupid. Wasn't King David accountability that his son, the infant child, did not live? That was his punishment. Bathsheba got pregnant from the rape, and the infant did not survive. So, not only did Bathsheba get raped and then possessed by King David as, one of his harem, or I don't know, I can't remember. Did I think she eventually became queen. I don't know. But yeah, he's like, okay, you're mine now. I'm going to go your husband and, oh, Josh and Anna. Oh, see, I get them too confused all the time. Josh, Josh, Joshua, Joseph. There's S's and J's and uhs. I did not see the Josh and Anna. I'll be honest, there was so much for me to consume, and I had gotten to the point where I was like, if I consume anymore, I might have to go find somebody to in the face. So I was feeling a little violent, so I kind of stopped. Um, should we look at the Josh and Anna emails? Oh, do y'all want to do that? Should we torture ourselves? Up to me. Anybody else want to look at the Josh and Anna emails? Did y'all see that? Let me see. Where can I find that? Mm-mm-mm-mm. I know Lily Archive, I think, had them. If y'all are not following Lily Archive, please go follow Lily Archive because she is doing the Lord's work. If I play it on this, we won't be able to see it. We won't be able to hear it because apparently both of my speakers are not working for some reason. Um, let me just pull it up. Let me just pull it up on my iPad. Use that as a second screen. All right. Switch hands. I'll just mute it because that's loud. Okay, I think. Oh, I won't be able to read that on this screen, I don't think. Let's see. If I make it bigger. Should we just listen? Maybe we should. The Duggar huggers just follow the Jimbo line no matter how preposterous. I follow Lily Archive, 100% Lord's work. Yes. Josh talks about Psalms too. Our fundies obsessed with the Psalms. Yes, they are obsessed with the Psalms. Okay. So the Psalms are poems, they're whatever, something else, and laments, right? So if you are going through a trial, you get in the Psalms and then you don't feel as bad because David was going through it when he when he wrote the Psalms. And so oftentimes, and I did mention this in another video, oftentimes fundies will recommend that you read Psalms and Proverbs every day. If you divide the Psalms by 30 days, you can read you read multiple Psalms a day. And so, depending on the day of the month, you read such and such Psalm, this, that. And then I think you can read through Psalms and Proverbs in a month because there's 30 or 31 chapters in Proverbs, and then I believe the Psalms are divisible by 30-ish. It's been a few minutes. So depending on oh yeah, it's like on the first of the month you read 1, 31, 61, 91, you know, and whatnot. And so on and so on. I shall not. Fundies are absolutely obsessed with the Psalms. I was a product of children's Bible verse memorization push, probably IBLP wannabe church. I still remember Psalms 23, but I am not my own shepherd. I am my own shepherd. I shall not want. What is the Fundie monthly schedule for reading the Sermon of the Mount or the Beatitudes? I have no idea, honestly. So typically they also will do like a Bible in a year program. Well, they read from the Old Testament to from Genesis to Revelation in a year. And so like you'll have sorry, my hair is bugging the crap out of me. You'll have like morning Bible time, Psalms and Proverbs, and then evening Bible time, you'll do the read through the Bible because, you have to be in the Bible as much of the day as you possibly can. All right. So should we listen to the video? It is 24 minutes about Anna and Josh's emails, or do we not care? So, a fun fact about the Sermon on the Mount is that I believe that is what the wisdom books were based off of. Um, that was a joke. I I feel like fundies stick their fingers in their ears for Sermon on the Mount, too much being nice to strangers and the needy, right? I think they ignore everything that's red lettered. And if you're not familiar, the red letters are Jesus's words in most Bible. We only listen to the black letters in the Bible. We don't listen to the red letters. Okay, and I also discussed this, and I know some people were interested about the focus on the Old Testament. Now, obviously, the Old Testament is larger than the New Testament, and fundies like to say that, oh, thank you so much for the heart me, that the Old Testament is showing you how Jesus fulfilled the prophecy of the Old Testament, right? So it's not necessarily a look forward, which some of them have said, but it's like you can see the prophecy developing in the Old Testament and see that Jesus fulfilled that prophecy. And then the New Testament is the new covenant. We're not supposed to be under the old covenant, but the Old Testament is you're supposed to glean wisdom from the Old Testament, right? And so they don't want you to like not read the Old Testament. But there's a lot of judgment in the Old Testament that they can use of what not to do, right? The Old Testament is like, this is how you should live your life if you want it to be godly, but you're covered I never understood that, but you're covered under the New Testament, so it doesn't apply to you as law, but you can use it as instructions. That's what they would like say. Like you can use it as an instruction manual, right? So crazy. Because if we're not underneath that law, then it's such a mind fuck. It is. Um, then how does that apply? How does any of it apply to you? Like I understand there's wisdom to glean out of it, but there's only so much that you can apply to your life from the Old Testament in modern day, especially America. I have an umbrella. Please opine on the big version traitorousness. Joe loves this non-KJV book because he can forking understand it. It's not. Is that not still a road straight to hell? Oh my gosh, Joe seemed right proud of it. His new non-KG Joe seemed right proud of it. His new little version. He'll have to atone for that, no doubt. So this is really interesting because I addressed this in another video too. The King James Bible is written in Old English, and from what somebody said in the comments, even when it was written in a language or a version of Old English that wasn't modern to that time, right? It wasn't the vernacular that they used at the time it was written. It was kind of like an older version, which leads to people having to do a lot of Greek and Hebrew research about what words mean. And oh boy, does IBLP, yes, IBLP Christians are KJV only. So is IFB. And so that leads to people like Bill Gothard. This is what it meant in the Greek, and that's kind of some of the way that he hoodwinked people was, using the interpretation of the Greek language that fit his narrative. So a lot of the interpretations of the King James Bible are authoritarian in nature. Rachel, you're an XJW. They had their own transportation. I'm confused. Translation? Oh, the JWs had their own translation. Yes. It's like transportation. Why are we talking about transportation here? But yeah, so if you only read the King James Bible and you only listen to preachers you're good, that preach from that and study it from a fundamentalist basis, right? From fundamentalist interpretations and exegesis and all of that, you're going to get a very authoritarian view of God. And when you read other versions, like the NIV or NSRV or the plethora of hundreds of different translations that we have, the New Revised Standard, even the New King James is a little bit better, right? But you get a very different translation or understanding of who God is because it's words you can understand. Number one, and then the footnotes. He was talking about the footnotes. A lot of footnotes will have, well, this is what scholars think about this, and this is what scholar thinks about this. Or they'll say, some people interpret this as this, some people interpret this as that. And so there's a little bit more nuance to other Bibles, and especially when you have footnotes in it that explain things on a deeper level that aren't IBLP and IFB coded through the lens of fundamentalism, right? And so I think that he is going, wow, I didn't know this. Sorry, got to do my puzzle piece. I didn't know this about God. I didn't understand this about God. Wow, this is a different picture of God than I've ever like understood in my 31 years on earth because I have been in Fundyland and doing IBLP and IFB. And so it's like it's like the scales are coming off his eyes, to use Fundy language, and he's seeing truths that he never saw before. Um I love Joe's description of his new non-KJV Bible. It's story style. It's easier than Old English. Road to Hell, Joseph. Yes, Crystal. Road straight to hell. It sounds like how the Catholic Church used to conduct spiritual life in a deep, dead language just to make sure nobody understands what the fuck they're saying. So here's the other thing. A lot of people, like a lot of fundamentalists, will say that King James interpreted, like, had the translation of the King James Bible so it could be given to every common person, right? And that God is powerful enough to give the common person understanding of the Bible through them just reading it. What I've come to find out is that if you don't have enough knowledge of different translations, different translative boards, and how they've felt about the translations that they've done, you don't understand how translation is done, it is very hard for you to understand the Bible in the tone and culture in which it was written. And not knowing, like, different books of the Bible have different styles, even like the Psalms being poems. If a book was written to be a specific thing, you don't know that it was written to be a specific thing. Or like you don't know that certain things are parables, right? And you try to apply that to your life literally. Then you're getting a different perspective on the Bible than if you understood all of those nuanced and layered things about how the Bible came to pass and the different translations and what the people who translated them thought about their own translation even. Like some of them are like, well, this is the best we could do with what we got. And the big argument with King James versus not King James was the manuscripts. King James was translated from the Textus Receptus, and all the other translations are translated from the Vaticanus Sinaiticus, or whatever that word is. Like, I've heard it so many times, but I've tried to forget it, and then it's coming back now. So it's like two different translations, right? But King James also got to decide what books were going to be in the Bible and not, and all of that kind of stuff. And there's people who study theology that have so much more understanding about what the intent of different passages were trying to tell us. And if you don't understand all of those layers, in my personal opinion, it is really hard for you as a layperson to read the Bible and understand it in its totality and its intention, if you believe in that kind of stuff. So I'm putting this in the perspective of a Christian, right? And King James only Bible people, fundamentalist, believe that it is the inspired, God-breathed word of God, that every single word is a literal translation of the Greek and Hebrew. And that's if you can believe that the Greek and Hebrew can be translated literally into English, but so be it. And be able to understand it and the intent of Greek and Hebrew, and in the intent that they meant, like, culturally, that environment was so different than we are culturally in America. And I mean, we can even go into the fact that America's Jesus is white, but I digress. It's like, how do you really understand the Bible if you can't even accept the fact Jesus is brown? And then understand it, like, I was in a Bible study maybe 7, 8 years ago, and there was somebody from, I believe it was a country in Africa, but I might be getting that wrong. And they had an understanding of some cultural things, and they had done, like, some study on the culture of those times, right? And the way that he presented what happened when, was it Mary Magdalene or whoever it was that came to Jesus's dinner, and they had sat down, and she came and she washed his feet with the oil or whatever with her hair and and he's like, all of y'all are sitting here, and she's giving everything to, that she has, her most precious gift, and using it to wash my feet, and y'all couldn't be bothered. Like, the way that he, like, explained the cultural significance of that passage kind of changed the way that I saw it. And when you get more information, when you get different perspectives from when you're just reading the King James Bible. I grew up Catholic, so I didn't grow up reading the Bible. So when I became Baptist, that was a new thing to me, to, like, open the Bible and read it. And so, and then I shortly went from that to King James only. And so most of my Bible reading was in King James. And so, like, later on, opening different Bibles and reading different, on the internet, reading different interpretations of the Bible, it helped me understand things that boggled my mind before. And so that's kind of what's happening to Joe, is he's going, "Eh, maybe what they taught me wasn't true. Maybe the God that they presented to me isn't a vengeful heck." I mean, he could be, but that's kind of probably what's happening. Oh, I just got Archbishop Jonathan Blake's retelling of the New Testament, the first safe, loving, and inclusive version. Oh, okay. I am going to screenshot that, and hopefully it'll turn off my phone, because I forgot how to do it on this phone. Ah. Rachel, can you send me that, please? Because I will forget, and I don't have comments on replay on the T button. I really hate that there are so many fundamental churches who teach literal biblical theology. But do they really understand literal biblical theology? Thank you. Joe's Prison Bible, New what? NLT, New Living Translation, is a thought for thought translation, not word for word. It uses original Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic texts and gobs of scholarly translators, still evangelical, but so not KJV. Right. So let's look at like Bill Gothard, right? He went to Wheaton. So did Billy Graham. I just found that out when I was recording the next couple of episodes for the Jesus and John Wayne reading. If y'all don't know, I've been reading Jesus and John Wayne, and I post it on the red play button. I post it on Thursdays. I put the 3 videos that I put on the T button on and then I do Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday on the T button, and I do shorter videos. And then on YouTube, I combine all of them together and I just do one episode. And I had no idea Jesus and John Wayne was about when I first started reading it, and I was like, "Oh, all of these videos are getting suppressed." Oh, I want Bill Gothard in a Bible cage match with Bart Ehrman. I don't know who that is. Um, Bill Gothard is like 92, I think. I don't know. He's ancient. Um, You're new to me this week, but I've been loving your videos. Thank you so much, Joyful. I appreciate that. Yes, I have gotten a lot of new followers, and I like cannot. He's 91. Thank you, BC. Um, I guess I'll have to look up Bart Ehrman too. I watch on the T button. I watch. Oh God, what is his name? Man, names and me are so hard sometimes. You've got John McClellan, and then you also have another guy. What is his name? Justin. Deconstruction Justin, I think is what his name is. And Dan McClellan, yes, is one of them. And those 2 guys, I really enjoy their videos. Dan McClellan made me understand that fundamentalists do not understand theology. And the theology that they learn, and that's what I was getting at with the whole Wheaton thing. So Bill Gothard went to Wheaton, and so did Billy Graham. And then you've got the IFB colleges like Crown College. You've got Hyles Anderson. You've had Pensacola Bible Institute, not to be confused with Pensacola Christian College. And then you have Bill Gothard's what he tried to do with telos, and there was another thing that he had called it before, and trying to get people to get college degrees that aren't accredited or semi-accredited, but also not get too secular. And like, if you have to worry about the people in your following going to a secular college and it completely dismantling their belief system, how strong is your belief system? If it can't stand up to scrutiny and logic and science, is it really a solid foundation? Because if your beliefs cannot be questioned and you still have them, how strong are your actual beliefs? New Bible versions seem like it could be the first introduction of nuance into their world. That is exactly it. So devastating to ponder, but totally possible. Nuance is not a thing, but Satan. um, Nuance is not a thing in fundamentalism. It is A or B. It is positive or negative. There is no gray. There is no middle ground. There is no nuance to anything. Kid, I'm on a live. Hush. And so when you have been stuck in that fundamentalist world your whole entire life, and this is one of the things that I was talking about, why I have so much compassion for women in IBLP and fundamentalist cults like IFB as well, is because you absolutely do not see anything outside of what you've been fed, what you has been regurgitated to you. And for instance, the Duggars grew up in homeschool. They had a little bit of interaction with other people outside of that, but every time they had interaction with people outside of that, it was those people are worldly. Those people are not people you want to associate yourself with. They are the bad people. They are the sinners. They are the people who are going to pull you down onto the road to hell, and you don't want to go anywhere near them. So you close yourself off to those people. You don't allow other people who have alternate belief systems or thought patterns. Poor cousin Amy, right? Like, Amy was the only person that they had in their life that they were allowed to be around that might have a differing opinion. But you know what they did to her was they villainized her. You know how I know that? I've been villainized in my own damn family because I divorced my ex-husband who was an abusive piece of shit. And my own aunt and uncle, the uncle is by blood, the aunt is by marriage, have villainized me to their children that I am not a good example of a Christian because I divorced my abusive, drug using husband who put rugs over me and his children and who put our safety at risk constantly. And so, God forbid I leave and provide my children with safety. I'm the bad person. So inside out and backwards. Yes, as a woman in fundamentalism, you are to be a martyr for your husband. He can do anything to you, and you're supposed to take it and be thankful for the trial. And if you have any emotion other than gratefulness, thankfulness, happiness, contentedness, your heart is wrong. And it doesn't matter what they do. You have to get your heart right, because if you don't get your heart right, it may not change your husband. And I'm not crying on the internet today. All right, let's read some comments. Bart Ehrman is amazing. Just retired from UNC, ex-Fundy, Moody Bible School grad. Then blossomed and became one of the top biblical scholars in mainstream academia. Sweet and smart, great YouTube channel. Okay, I will have to check him out. I think Bart's YouTube is called Misquoting Jesus. Oh, that's good. A loving God wouldn't want you to be in an unsafe marriage, period. Thank you, Joyful. Exactly. That is one of the reasons I left, because I got to a point where I'm like, I had 3 boys, and there was a 5-year gap between my second and third. Um, and seeing the way that my older 2 were being disciplined, and I was part of the problem. If I didn't discipline, it would get worse. So I had to do things I was not comfortable with to prevent further harm, which, hey, Ashley, which eats at my soul sometimes. And I got to a point where I'm like, I am teaching my boys how women should be treated. I am teaching my boys how they should treat women. I am teaching my boys that this is acceptable, the way I'm being treated. And then I woke up one day and said, God loves me more than he hates divorce. And I was like, okay, it took me a while, but I was done. I was done letting people make me feel guilty for prioritizing safety. And when you spent 8 years trying to get your husband at the time to stop using, to prioritize you and the children. I was pregnant at the time. He had gotten into a motorcycle accident and he fell back into addiction, even though he really wasn't sober because he was using that mojo shit, which was scary. Now that I look back, like, I'm glad he didn't go psychotic. But, and, um, you know, I had people in my ear while I was in that cult telling me that I should not leave. I was begging for help. I was begging for somebody to hold him accountable for what he was doing. We had split up when my kids were like 3 and 4, my older 2. And when I went back, I waited about a year or 2, and then I was like, "Okay, things are pretty good. We can have another kid." Because God's supposed to be in charge of you having this quiverful. So I was like, it's my duty to have more children. So, having an extreme ADHD child and an autistic child isn't enough. Let's add a third. And then he got into a motorcycle accident, he got prescribed medications and it became a problem. And I had told him when I went back to him that the only way I will do this is if you start using again. You have to promise me that you will leave and go get help if I tell you you can't come home. And he promised me. That man did not promise me anything that he would not be able to fulfill, ever. He would tell me, I can't promise that. I can't tell you that. You know, I'm not going to, he would not hold himself to anything that he could not fulfill. And he promised me that. And one day I had had enough and I said, do not come home. Go get help. And he came home. And then I had the baby and I walked into the bathroom and I found a straw with a powdery substance on it. Apparently there was crushing of things that were prescribed and there was straws used to administer. The only bathroom in my house. And at that time, I had Facebook and I went to Facebook and I said, "I'm done." Exclamation point. And he didn't have Facebook. He didn't have social media. He just got social media like 3 years ago or something. And so I knew he wasn't going to see it, but I knew that everybody that I knew would know what I meant because they know what I had been going through. And it took me a month and we had been looking for another place to live. So I was packing because we were going to find another place to live. So I was able to hide the fact that I was packing. And he went to work one day and I had it set up to where my dad and I went to go get a moving truck and a friend of mine watched the older two. I had the baby with me. He was 4 months old. And my aunt, my mom, my sister, my dad all came over. We packed that moving van to the gills. The pastor at the time was supposed to come help my dad move the appliances because my ass wasn't going to be without appliances. And so he bailed on me the last minute. Facebook, I need help moving some heavy items. Is anybody available? A friend of mine messages me, I know some missionaries who can help me. Guess what they were? They were Mormon missionaries. Mormon missionaries coming to help me pack my vehicle to leave my husband at the time. And I called up the pastor, hey, don't worry about it. A friend of mine has some Mormon missionaries and she sent him over and he's like, that can't be of God because they're Mormon. And I'm like, I don't give a. And I was like, yeah, okay. All right, thanks, bye. And I swear to you, 30 minutes or less before that man came home, I was writing on packing paper. I'm done. I ain't doing this no more. You didn't stay away when I told you to stay away. You promised me goodbye. Basically, dear John, on packing paper. We got in all of our vehicles that were packed to the gills with the moving truck and we were out. Curtains off the sunroom and everything. So when he came home and the curtains were on the thing, I know he knew something was up. Oh my gosh, yes. So that is how I left. And then it took me like 2.5 years to get an official divorce, and it was expensive because the man couldn't agree to anything and compromise on a goddamn thing, and I had to go to trial and spent like 8 hours on the freaking witness stand. It was crazy. The Mormons showed up and did the job, and they were criticized for not being Christian, right? Exactly. Look, help comes in all sorts. And God used any kind of people in the Bible. I'm like, God used prostitutes in the Bible. You don't think he can use Mormons? Like, that's kind of weird. I hate that women are so undervalued in these views. Yes. They no woman is actually valued. Her womb is. That's the only thing that's valued in her ability to provide household labor to serve the husband, and her womb are what is valued. Thank you so much, Star. I'm so glad you could be here. I think I missed some comments. When Josh's Ashley Madison scandal came out, Anna stood by him even after the backlash. I mean, yeah, that's everything is forgivable. There was a murderer on the cross next to Jesus. So he was forgiven. Anything can be forgiven. That's what they say. Um very grateful my parents had a very equal partnership, but my mom felt a little guilty about it. Wow. Feeling guilty for being equal is wild, but I get it. Um Misquoting Jesus is also the name of one of his bestsellers. Okay. Um Way to survive, friend, even though you were indoctrinated to self-destruct when you couldn't perform or conform or etc. I see you, D. Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. I appreciate that. Um, I'm just another lost soul on a prayer list to my Fundy family. Demon infested and too opinionated for a woman. Also, I have queer kids. They feel entitled to send to conversion therapy. Oh my God. And the stupid Supreme Court and their I mean, they sent it back down to the lower court It's not finalized, and my hair, I'm sorry, my hair is driving me nuts today. Um I'm the only one whose husband calls you the margarita umbrella lady. I love it. I love it. It's so funny because I just thought, I should do something fun with the microphone. And I saw people like putting it on spoons and stuff, and I was like, I have to get the drink umbrellas and put it on that because what umbrella rebellion? You gotta sell it, right? Oh man. I am so glad I have fellow black sheep from fundy families to hang out with and talk about. Holy shit, D, there's a whole book or series in you. May you find peace sufficient to document what you had to do to escape a narcissistic family cult. Amazing. Thank you. A lot of people have told me I should write a book. Man, I've tried to sit down and write it a couple of times, and my ADHD is like, that's not good enough. Or I don't know, my sense of being a failure has been like, that's not good enough. I don't know. Um, Maybe after all of my kids are raised and they're actually living on their own. But a lot of my past 4 or 5 years has been navigating some pretty heavy crises for one of my children. So it has not been a time of being able to put thoughts on paper. Um, who knows if Madison Duggar was born before or after the scandal? Shit, that keeps me up at night, right? Baby Madison was born 6 years after Josh's Ashley Madison scandal came out. That is such a weird thing to do. Like, even if it had nothing to do with that, like, did you forget? Did you forget the world would be wondering why? It's almost like that we're gonna claim it for good kind of thinking, like this was evil, and so now we're gonna change it and be good. But that poor child has a name that is forever marred her dad's, like, reputation. Oh, you can just refer them to Tia Leving's A Well-Trained Wife until you write your own. Absolutely. Well-Trained Wife was really well written. And now she experienced stuff I never experienced, and to the extreme I never experienced. A lot of the abuse that I was receiving was emotional, mental, spiritual, financial, like everything but physical, with the exception of threats. So that was it was like I could see it escalating. Oh, I'll tell you how bad my ex-husband was. This story does not get old telling. So my children were in public school, and one of them had an IEP. And after we got the divorce finalized, he was supposed to be involved in these meetings. And I tried to involve him for a while, but he just refused to accept that our middle child had autism. I'm going into the meeting. We go to the meeting, we have the meeting, blah, 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 blah. I come out the meeting and I'm very good friends with the secretary. And she's like, come here. And I'm like, what? She's like, can you get your family annihilator out of this building? And I was like, what? I was shocked. She had never seen the man before in her life. And I was like, you got that vibe off of him? And she's like, yes. And I was like, oh, I thought it was only me. So there was many, many nights that I was scared that I would become a front page news story. Yeah. Um, Capable? Yes. Would he ever have the nerve? I don't think so. I think he was equally scared of me because he knew that if he was going to get to my kids, he better take me out and make sure that I'm down, because I would scratch tooth and nail and dismember anyone who came between me and my kids. Like, he knew I was ferocious. Assault is the fear of physical harm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, It was to that level. I just didn't ever have marks on me. So I couldn't find safety in a shelter because there was no physical evidence. I tried that first. And I was like, Mom, Dad, I can't find a shelter because they had already housed me once when I left him the first time. So thank you, Fundy brainwashing, for making me think that I had to make it work out. Oh shit. I got a violation. Whoops. Oopsies. Um, can I ask you what got you so involved in the Duggars? So, by the fact that they are involved in the IBLP, and they are a good example and a way to reach more people, because other people are interested in the Duggars for the celebrity status or the reality TV aspect of it. And I'm like, they were in a cult and the cult was harmful. Yeah, so that's kind of why I I hate it. I hate having to bring the Duggars into the channel, but if I didn't bring the Duggars into the channel, I don't know how large of a audience I would reach. And I think it's very important for us to talk about the harms of IBLP, and this cult still exists. So, if speaking about the Duggars and what they have done and the harms that they have perpetrated on children and the criminal activity they have been involved in, if using their name will protect one person from going into this cult or get one person out, I have no qualms using their name at all. So my interest is purely in raising awareness about how they connect to fundamentalism and raising awareness for the fact that IBLP still exists. IFB churches are still out there taking perpetrators and switching them from one church to another. Um, is it not obvious to most normies that they are in a cult? Child Star Mama says it was obvious to me the first time I saw them. See, I don't know because I was already in the cult when they came out. So, and I didn't realize I was in a cult when they came out. So, like everybody knew there was something weird with them, right? And they're like, let's watch the train wreck happen. They just did not understand how bad the train wreck was going to be. And then the fact that Bill Gothard was a accused, I have to say accused predator. He had, I believe it went up to like 30 women who were on a lawsuit, right? If a perpetrator is the person who is responsible for thousands of pages of documents telling people how to live their lives, what do you think is in those pages? I will go to my grave telling people that those materials were grooming manuals. Period. And if you haven't seen the 12-step videos about the 4-year-old and the neighbor, if that doesn't prove it to you in one document that we have grooming materials, nothing will convince you otherwise. Not just that, but IFB often hits local politics hard, like the Duggars, so we should all know about it. Let's talk about the Joshua generation. Season 1 of Shiny Happy People, episode 4, is all about the Joshua generation. What was one of IBLP's goals? And this is another thing I talked about in the live last week, was the biggest difference between IBLP and IFB. IBLP had a top-down approach, world domination kind of plan. multiple countries they were in. They wanted to be able to touch every single country on this planet and infiltrate their government with people who believed like IBLP to be able to create laws that fit the Christian fundamentalist views of IBLP. IFB was a bottom up approach. You go to every country on this planet and you start converting the people, and eventually you'll have enough people to take over the government so the government can now rule according to fundamentalist beliefs. And Chad Harris was absolutely correct when he said IBLP's goal was world domination. That man was not going to be happy until he had government reaches in every country in this world, on this planet. And he was on his way to doing it. He would go into other countries and he would schmooze and show the IBLP HEI children and students as an example of the well-dressed, modest, Christian, well-behaved young adults that he molded with his program because it was controlling, high control group. And he would be like, look at my young people. You can have young people like this. And then he encouraged adults who were in young adults who had grown up in it to get involved in politics. Yeah. So the reason we have the Heritage Foundation, IBLP, IFB, what's his face that just died? James Dobson, Billy Graham. All of these people influenced where we are at now. Doug Wilson, Jesus Christ, that man is scary. I did ask you if there is any chance that BG might run for US president in early 70s, 80s. I don't think that he was interested in being in politics himself. He was very content at being the leader, being the ego behind the display of conformity, and being the one that could take the credit for creating politicians that implemented his. It's like he wanted to be the little puppet master that had all the little puppets in all the little places and said, that was me. Look at me, I did that. But he would say it was God, you know? Oh, that was God that did that. And all glory to God. But I think in his heart of hearts, if we're gonna go with Fundy talk, his heart of hearts was like, look what I did. Yeah. So it's all ego driven. I have an episode on, I think it was the first season of the podcast about the crimes of the Gothard family, because Bill Gothard is not the only one who has committed crimes, supposedly, allegedly. There are other documented crimes of the family. There are other supposed allegedly crimes of the family too. They got in trouble in the 80s for using ministry funds to fly their family everywhere for personal ventures. One of his brothers was in prison twice for financial crimes. So there's that. They were grifters. Their whole family. And oh my gosh, my electricity might go out. It's storming over here in South Louisiana. And I live in a rural area. So if I disappear, that's oh my gosh. But yeah. Anybody got any questions? Whew, we've been on here for a while. This is a good one. I really enjoyed this live for sure. So before I end the live, does anybody have any questions about IBLP, IFB, the Duggars, what's going on with them, how it ties to the cult? Anything like I really need to get back to the men's manual series. It's something that I'm trying to get the Jesus and John Wayne readings a little more ahead so I can take some time and do some recordings for the men's manual, and get that back in the workings of getting, because I really think that picking apart, for lack of better words, and analyzing the manuals that Bill Gothard produced is so important. And I don't think a lot of the women in this cult, or that are survivors of this cult, or anyone who hasn't been in the cult, understand what the men were being taught. In IBLP, it was not allowed for us to view the materials that men were being taught. So a lot of us didn't even bother to look at what it was. And so it really gives you an inside look at how these fathers became so controlling and abusive under the guidance and instruction of Bill Gothard, the predator, allegedly, supposedly. And it was essentially grooming materials. Again, it was grooming men to be controlling, authoritarian, abusive husbands and fathers. And so, as a woman, I tend to hold the men more accountable for the harms that were done, because they were the ones with all the power, because they were the head of the home. They were just under Jesus Christ when it came to authority. And whatever they said, go. And so what they implemented in their homes was a benefit to them. And they wouldn't have implemented those things if it didn't benefit them, or if they didn't find pleasure in it. And then you have the women who were conditioned to accept anything and everything their husbands did, were told they have no option for divorce. Thank you, Debbie Pearl. Thank you, Bill Gothard. Thank you, Stormy O'Martin, for her Power of a Praying Wife. It wasn't just fundamentalists that reinforced that stuff. Then you've got men trying to teach women how to be submissive and missing the mark completely. And there's no emphasis on men to be submissive, like the Bible says, to be submissive one to the other, one to another. There's no emphasis on that. And you get authoritarian dictatorships in a family, and narcissists are drawn to it, and vulnerable people who have experienced trauma in their life, especially women, are drawn to it for the promise of safety for their children. And then you slowly get put in the pot. Well, you get put in the pot, and then slowly the heat gets turned up. And then you look back one day and go, holy shit, where the fuck am I? This is not who I am. I don't want to treat my children this way. This is unacceptable. Or you were raised in it and you're like, I can't understand why parents would do that. Why would they ever do that to their children? Crazy. And they decide, I'm not doing that to my children. And they break the cycle. As IBLP shrinks, do you think Big Sandy will just fade away and the next gen under 40 will all just drift to IFB? Oh, and the like, since it's so similar, that doesn't seem like a real improvement. It is actually not an improvement because of the massive amounts of SA that happens in IFB churches, and the massive cover up. I'm sorry, the massive cover ups that they do to protect the image, and they absolutely do not take care of victims. They always surround the perpetrator and ask for prayer for the perpetrator and leave the survivors with nothing. So yes, I do think that as it dwindles down, and I have something to show y'all. Speaking of that, before we go, I looked up the tax information that was latest reported by IBLP, and I think it's interesting for us to look at. So let's look at this. All right, I'm gonna leave it big so y'all can hopefully see it. They're a 501c3. Their revenue was 10.6 million. They had 5.82 million of expenses, and this is for 2024 tax reporting year. Their total assets are 54.4 million. Their total liabilities are 1.5 million. So let's see what their revenue was. Net income was $4,801,080. Contributions were $366,000, $656. There's so many sixes in there. I'm surprised they let that stand. Somebody needs to give $1,000 so we can make a 7 come in there. We need more 7s. You can totally see that happening. If y'all are on the T button, I'm showing it on the YouTube. Y'all can go look at it in replay or come jump over there. Investment incomes $686.99. Apparently they have rental property. Royalties, I'm guessing from their publications, maybe $2,536. I am not a tax expert or a nonprofit data person. Rental property income. Oh, well, investment income is different. I guess they have some investments in stocks or something. Who knows? Rental property income $1,209,297. They have $0 in net fundraising. Interesting. Sale of assets. So they have sold off some of their properties in 2024. They sold off $7,260,570 in assets. That was 68.4% of their net assets. That doesn't make any sense. Percent of total revenue. Oh, of the revenue. That was 68% of the revenue that they of that year, not their total assets. Net inventory sales. They have made $304,000 and $304,507 on sales of inventory. That is their publications, tapes, CDs, whatever you want to call them, audio, probably digital. They have like some of their stuff digitally now. Other revenue, whatever that might be, $23,490. Non-taxable expenses, executive compensation, $271,760. That is their leadership salaries. Other salaries and wages, $1,134,615. Whatever. $1,134,615. That is 19.5% of their total expenses. Assets, debt. Total assets, $54,384,162. Total liabilities, $1,146,414. I don't know why I keep doing the dollars after the thousands. Net assets, $53,237,748. This organization is still worth $53.25 million. $53.25 million. Key employees and officers: Robert Barth, secretary, $108,667,000. Ben Zeismer, treasurer, $76,513. Hey, Archradish. Tim Lewandowski, $50,916. John Beschel, $24,600. Gil Bates, $1,000. Must have been all that Sonic Bloom money. What, Sonic Bloom? What's Sonic Bloom? David York, $300. Some people working for nothing. Oh, the Pro Publica report. Yeah. I was talking about you, Chad. I was telling them about the world domination plans of IBLP, and that you were absolutely 100% right. So they sold off in 2024. What was it? $7,260,507. It was a scam Gothard ran, tried to sell the idea of playing hymns to Oh my gosh, I missed that one. Oh my goodness. Sonic Bloom. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Yeah. So, I wonder, does Bill Gothard consider his Bill Gothard a 501c3? I wonder what he's operating under on his website. I know he tries to sell all his books that he had to republish because he couldn't win the legal fight against IBLP for the copyright of his materials because they belong to the organization, not him. And Kelly Blue Who says, "Hey Chad, way to survive a narcissistic family cult." Oh man. So, yeah. There's the tax reporting for 2024. I don't know. I know they sold off. I'm curious about them just selling 7 million in 2024. They have been selling off. I mean, that had to be part of like the uh Hensdale stuff. And then I know they had. Do you know if they sold the Northwoods complex? Was that the year they it might have been the year they sold Northwoods. So, 7 million sounds kind of like relevant to what they were trying to sell Northwoods for. Um, yeah, I don't remember what years they sold everything because it was valued way higher. It could have been. They could have lost. Oh, darn. They could have lost money on something that they got for nothing. Imagine that. So all these millions sound like funds for judgments and settlements, in my opinion. Who has standing and resources to sue, right? I think we should get a class action, but I don't know that anybody would take it. Um, they sold Nashville in 24. I've wanted to do a deep dive on their financials. I just don't have the time to do all that digging. And I don't know where to get all of the resources for that either. I'm not I just I just happened upon I remembered there was a way to look up their tax reporting, and they're always a couple of years behind, or at least a year. I guess they're only really a year behind. Um, because they're going to be doing 2025 taxes, so should be out later this year, maybe. Yeah, I know. If they have 53 million, that's at least a couple tens of thousands of dollars per person who was harmed. maybe $1,000 per person. The whole world was harmed by IBLP because those teachings infiltrated so many mainstream churches. I was talking with a survivor on one of the lives or in a video about how back in the 90s, they would have church groups that would approach IBLP to do a basic seminar in their church. And so they would get the videos and they would do it in a small church or a big church. And so you didn't have to necessarily drive to the conferences. You could get it there. I just want them to be left with nothing, every building condemned. Did you say they paid Zeismer? Yes, they did. They paid Zeismer $76,513. So, Robert Barth got $108,667. That's interesting. Dude is rich as hell. Well, he's probably rich as hell because he keeps getting money from IBLP. But poor Gil Bates only gets $1,000. And David York only gets 300. And then they have other, I don't know what other, I guess like maybe expenses coming covered. Zeismer also had $2,467 in other. My understanding is that Zeismer never took a salary back in the day for that reason. He's taking it now. Maybe he spent all his money. Ooh, all right. It has been like hour and a half, almost 2 hours. I'm getting a little sore. Can't sit that long. Lindsay, I met him when I remember when y'all snuck in. That was who y'all saw? Oh man. They went to Lindsay and Chad had gone to headquarters. And he wasn't he like the only guy that was at headquarters at that time? A lone man in a lone office in a deserted Mecca of Fundyland. Those I was only there for 3 months, but top floor, no less. I can, like I can envision driving down in the field, in the little pathway, and I think there was, like, a little pond or something, and when you enter, you've got the big headquarters building, the main building that everybody worked at, and then you had, like, houses on the left and that big open space, and then you came to the kitchen and his office area, and then I was in, Brook Manor, which was right across from his office, and so you would pull into Brook Manor, and it was on the left, and his office was on the right, and then there was other buildings behind that they owned, and I never did see, like, every single housing that they owned. I was only there for 3 months, but it was like they owned almost the whole entire neighborhood. So I'm guessing they may be renting out some of those houses now since there's no staff to live there. Oh, thank you so much, Kelly, for being here. I appreciate you. They're the worst looking houses in the area. Yes, they are. They are definitely because that was a really rich neighborhood. It was very interesting. It was like this little fundy crack town. You had really fancy houses behind it. Like Brook Manor was like the creme de la creme of the housings, and it was so old they never updated any of it. Oh, the headquarters, his office building with the kitchen and everything was pretty big too. The smaller office buildings and the residence houses have been condemned. Really interesting. Huh, go figure. They didn't keep it up. Because why would take care of things you got for free? Chad, do you know, was the headquarters area, was that given to IBLP from Hobby Lobby? A water main break. Oh, interesting. Gosh, you know so much. If you haven't watched Kevin James Thornton, a comedian, give yourself a treat and watch his shorts about his super fundamentalist church in the 90s. Oh, I love him. In the 90s. That guy? No idea. Okay. So I wish I could find, I know Hobby Lobby donated some property to IBLP. I wish I could find like a list somewhere. See, all the research I want to do. You met Kevin? Oh, cool. Awesome. I love him. Oh, cool. Awesome. That's awesome. All right, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Next Saturday, I will not be able to be. I don't think. It just depends. We're supposed to have a family gathering. It just depends on what time we're going to have it. If I'll be able to make it at the 4 o'clock time, I might push it up. But if I can't make it work, then we're going to skip next Saturday. But I'm going to try and make this a weekly thing. So thanks, Chad. Appreciate you coming by and giving me some love and hanging out with me. Appreciate all the new people for being here. It means a lot to me. And yeah, y'all have a great day. And if somebody has not told you today or ever, I am proud of you and we are going to get through all of this together. Love you, bye.